You're watching all the build-up and reaction to the Scottish Premiership playoffs. Partick Thistle, Ayr United.
Well, hello there. You can tell by my enthusiastic on the show tonight. We're looking forward to talking about a very exciting game tonight at Thistle for Thrills. We're on for an hour, guys, but I think we'll just go about 10 minutes tonight after that game because I mean, what we kind of built the game up, Robbie, and never lived up to expectation. Final score, if you haven't fell asleep yet, Partick Thistle 0, Ayr United 1, and by the way, I'm being polite when I'm saying that. Robbie and Reagan is here to look back on an exciting 90 minutes. You would maybe say about that. So who wants to go first, guys, on the look back to the game?
I mean, look, the first half, I sort of thought when it went to half time and I was looking at the stats and there wasn't many chances created, I sort of thought, right, they're both just finding their feet in the game. You know, it's a playoff, it's going to be nervy. But wow, the second half was even more disappointing. I think there was obviously a couple of things to talk about in the first half, the penalty incident being the main one, but I think there was more bookings in the first half than chances created. I mean, that's what type of game it was.
Yeah, Reagan, I thought was Watson deal or no deal with that David Dickinson. I mean, I think he actually, I think that it was all about him in that first half.
Yeah, I think he booked more players. I'm not going to say I think he had a bet on Michael, but he certainly booked for a few players. I mean, I think that was the most exciting game in the final part of the first half. I mean, I think in terms of the actual overall quality of the game, I agree with Robbie. I think it was a sort of a drama affair.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of dress up. But Robbie mentioned to me before we come on air, obviously we built the game up. Brilliant atmosphere, I would have to say, tonight in Thistle by both sets of fans as well. But the game never lived up too much, Robbie. And like all I've got down here is the first 20 minutes. The game's not get going. Basically, that's what you were saying.
I think that's the perfect way to sum it up, to be honest. I think someone got booked 6 minutes into the game. And apart from that, there really wasn't much happening in the game. It was quite a nervous. I think both teams, look, to give them credit over the full game, I thought they were well organised, both of them in defence. I thought they had good structure. I think both teams made it hard to break each other down. I think overall, I mean, look, we built the game up to be good. I think in a playoff, it's always going to be nervy, but I didn't expect it to be that nervy, to be honest.
I think not to pick on the ref again, and you might hear me saying this a lot through the next game of Reagan, but I think we built the game up to be one of these kind of end-to-end kind of old Scottish Cup ties, but I mean, I think it was all about the rest tonight.
I think it was. I think he made the kind of affair about him, but hopefully on Friday, I'm going to say it's going to be a boring game, and then it'll be fireworks because both teams will need to go for it. But I think if you're Scott Brown, you're just happy you get down the road to earn your 1-0 up. It's great to see Jimmy Murphy scoring as well. It was a great ball in. I don't know if you guys agree with. It was a great ball in, and then a great header. The only thing is, I don't know how he can head it because he's pretty wee.
I thought McLennan's ball in was excellent for the goal. I thought he was probably the standout for me on Ayr United's side all night. I thought anything that they created was through him. Obviously, in the second half after the goal, we had the run at Partick as well and hit it just narrowly right. So there was a few players. I think in this game, Ayr United's experienced players stood out me. I think the likes of Murphy, McLennan, I think Oakley, Curtis Mann when he came on. I thought players like that were the sort of standouts because they just have that bit more experience.
Now, Ayr United's got a big. Well, I was going to say a big advantage, but a winning advantage and also a big support in Flag United. Somerset, Robbie.
Yeah, and look, where the way the game went, I in my opinion, I thought Ayr deserved the 1-0 win. In the end, I thought, although there wasn't too many chances created, I thought it was created was mainly through Ayr. So Scott Brown will be pleased. Obviously, I think that's his first taste of playoffs while managing a club. So he'll know what to expect on Friday. I expect another nervous game. I don't think it's going to be as maybe exciting as we first thought before it. But
I think Robbie as well. The only kind of genuine chance for Partick Thistle near the end as well was that the header for Brian Graham as well. He had a good chance near the end, but I think the overall lack of quality was poor. But I think if you look back into it, I remember Partick Thistle a few years ago under my pal Chris Dillon. They doing really well in the playoffs. I mean, I remember them going to down here and beating them by a convincing score, Robbie. I don't know if you remember that game, but so I think Partick Thistle have got really good memories of that. But I think it'll be interesting to see what the approach is like. Will Ayr try and sit in there, or will they just play it like a normal match? Or
I hope they play it like a normal match. The last thing you want to see is that game, where just sitting back trying to play for the 1-0, because of course you want to go through, but I think they're going to need more than one goal. But I expect Partick Thistle to be better than the attacking areas. I thought, as you mentioned, Brian Graham's one chance at the end, I thought he had a pretty poor night, to be honest. I don't think he'd done as much as he maybe could have, but that was more than the rest of the team really not creating many chances. I thought Partick Thistle were just a team that I think they edged possession on the end by about a couple of percentage. I think what they done was just sort of pass it around the back between the back four, of side to side, and didn't really go forward with it. It was quite a poor night in the attacking sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think Brian Graham had that chance. Reagan, you were saying, but also he had a chance in the first half as well. I think that was, and I think that was the only real chance to note in the first half. So, I don't want to spoil the highlights if you haven't saw the highlights, because there won't be any highlights to see, apart from Jamie Murphy's goal as well in the second half. But yeah,
I think what you would say, I think what you would say, Mike, was it sets it up really well for Friday night. It's like, I think Partick Thistle in the end will be happy it's 1-0, because Ayr United near the end, they've got a really good chance. I can't remember who the shot was. It McLennan, where they had a good chance near the end. Ayr.
I think it was McLean.
I think you're right, Reagan. I think the game's go on, because obviously, I mean, let's be honest, Robbie, the game wasn't going to be finished tonight. But if it was maybe say 2 or 3-0, we would be talking about a different game on the show. But if it's 1-0, anything could happen.
It makes it very interesting for Friday. I think it sets up. I don't want to say a cracker already, because we said a cracker before this game. We know how it turned out, but it does set up for a pretty interesting game. I think both teams will need to approach it slightly different. I think the one thing that didn't help this game was right at the start, when I think it was McAllister went down for there, and he spent about 10 before you slowing the game down straight away.
There was 2 players went down, one for Partick and one for Ayr. I hope both of them are alright, but aye.
I think in a big game like this, guys, you're expecting kind of like tackles as well, but you would expect the ref to because he knows our occasion's that big, then it might let one or 2 or maybe 3 or 4 tackles away. But I mean, all the free kicks he was stopping for Reagan was kind of, you would say, meaningless fouls.
I like to see a referee can manage the game. I don't know if you guys agree, but I didn't think he managed the game very well. I think Nick Walsh managed the game well on Sunday, because he didn't really brandish a card, he didn't really stop him for a foul. He was totally in tune. Oh, there a goal! There a goal for Inter Milan. It's now 7-6 to Inter Milan in extra time.
What we would have done for the Champions League coverage. No, but one player in particular that was weird to me.
Oh,
I think it was Agberry at the back. There was multiple times where he cheaply fouled a player and the referee gave it, but there was other times where I thought he was quite aggressive in the play and the ref didn't get it. It was a really weird night for the ref. I thought everything he did give was slightly on the softer side.
yeah.
I think you what you were saying there, Reagan, is Nick Walsh had a good game in Sunday, but like I think as well that Nick Walsh has had a lot of experience in kind of big games like that, and that Nick Walsh would be a suited to like a playoff game like that, or and that friend where Livingston will play the winner of this game, but like you could see that inexperience of David Dickinson on that game, because I'm not sure if he's had like a big kind of a game like that. I mean a game as in not a league game, but a game that actually means something, like a cup game or a
A
playoff
playoff game,
game.
aye.
Yeah, aye.
But it was interesting because a friend of the show, Des Roach, was saying yesterday somewhere else, Michael, that he thought that the FFA might give David Dickinson the the Rangers Celtic game at the weekend because of, I don't know if you know, Michael, but basically because that game was a kind of meaningless game at the weekend, that would have been the perfect opportunity for me to blend something new in, because if you look at the referees that we've really got at the moment, we've got Nick Walsh, John Beaton, and Clement Clancy, and Steve McLean, who are like essentially our grade one referees and picked for all the big matches. So I think you're right in terms of like David Dickinson. Of course, he gets like a St Johnstone versus Rangers game, but he's never really been put under that much pressure in a match where he's got like a Celtic Rangers game or a playoff game.
And
And
So I think it is important, but I don't. To be honest with you, if I was his referee advisor after the game, I would say I don't know if the occasion got to him a little bit, Robbie. I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe it,
and
maybe it didn't. Maybe that's just me watching it, but I don't know. I
but
don't know what you think.
interestingly, I've just looked up the matches he's managed in 2025. So the ones he's been a fourth official in was the Dundee Derby. So that's probably the biggest game he's managed, and there wasn't even a referee in that game. And the previous fixtures before this, he had Aberdeen Hibs where he gave out 5 yellow cards. He gave out 7 in that one tonight. He gave out 6 between Dunfermline and Queen's Park, 6 between St Johnstone and Celtic when St Johnstone won, and they gave out 3 when Dundee lost 4-3 to Rangers. So he's not had the biggest of matches, but he gives out a lot of cards.
I
And
mean,
for me, like, of course, some of the cards would maybe be justified, but I think what it says to me as well is maybe he needs to manage a game better, because no every challenge warrants a yellow card.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he is a bit harsh on the cards, and it really does set the tempo for a game. You know, it was in the first half especially. It felt really stop-start at points because the referee just kept giving these cheap fouls.
I mean, I don't want to go down
And I
the.
think as well, it's important to make the point as well that he should recognise as a top referee that this is some of these players' biggest match of their time as a professional player. So there is going to be that edge. So he needs to manage them through that as well, and
I mean,
not brandish as much as he did.
I think without going into too much detail about the ref bill, Reagan, you mentioned about 4 or 5 top refs in Scotland. Right, and I will take to see the comments coming in now. But I mean, one of these refs is Anglo Dallas. Now he's not refed a game since VER has came into Scottish football. I might be wrong in saying that, guys, but so there's a top ref that's been taken away from the game to sit in whatever the house is called this week to watch the
Clydesdale
game.
House.
Yeah, Clydesdale House. Yeah, other, you know what I mean? So we're lacking in kind of like ref and standards as well going into the next game. But I mean,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
Andrew Dallas is now what they call a SFA designated VAR official. So he just sits in the studio every match. Now he's not even at the grounds anymore. He's just in Clydesdale House permanently.
Aye, last game I managed the 5th of, what is that, the 5th of November 2022, so it's been almost 3 years since he refereed, which is bonkers. I remember he used to get quite a lot of the big matches, so it's interesting to see the approach that they've taken, but I agree that I think in a big match like that where Reagan, you're right, it is, for their players, it's some of and the coaches, Scott Brown and Mark Wilson, it's the biggest matches they've had in their managerial careers. You should have the top referees managing it.
And I mean, you heard the support of Reagan right in the stands, like both sets of fans as well. And obviously, the Partick Thistle fans were booing at half time. I don't think they were booing at the game or the performance. I think they were booing at the performance of David Dickinson as well, because like I would love to know how much the game kind of like went in that first half without him blowing up for a foul.
Yeah, and I think as well is because it's that magnitude of the game. You don't want to see a team go down to 10 men. You want to see it being equal. So I think there needs to be a bit of a bit of realism in the game and say, right, well, what I need to manage my way through. That's the way that Des always talks about. A referee should manage his way through a game and manage the players. And I don't think he can really say that he did that tonight.
Do we know
Yeah,
who's got the game on? So I was just going to ask, do you know who's got the game on Friday to referee?
I don't know at the moment.
I don't know that, but hopefully it's not David Dickinson. That's what I'm saying, because it'll be a long. Because if the game doesn't go like the way that the fans want Reagan, I think they'll go across the road to the race course.
I think we should move on for the ref now because at this rate, David Dickinson will not come on the show. And to be honest with you, I would quite like him to come on the show one day. So,
Yeah, make sure make sure me and Robbie's away in holiday at that time, Reagan. Yeah. So as I say, 1-0 a packet, 1-0 to Ayr United. Second leg could come on Friday night at Somerset Park, and again, Robbie, it should be a brilliant atmosphere.
Could be a very good atmosphere. It was a very good atmosphere tonight, by the way. I was really impressed by both sets of fans. I thought that's what made it even more frustrating with how slow the game was, because the fans made it seem like it was going to be a fast tempo. They set the tone before the match kicked off, and it just completely got slowed down. But look, on Friday, it'll be another good crowd. I expect Partick Thistle to sell out the away allocation down at Ayr, so it should be an absolute cracker again. Hopefully, this time on the actual pitch.
I think as well, Robbie, because it's the kind of old school venue that Ayr's got and the old terrace, and that'll make it even more special on a Friday night under the lights.
I remember watching Falkirk a couple of weeks ago, and that was a very fast tempo game. Although there wasn't too many goals, it was good to watch. So hopefully the same again.
Yep, nope, and quarter kick-off on Friday night as well. And obviously the winner of that game will play Livingston. Is it the same setup for the next leg as it Tuesday, Friday until we get to the final? Does anyone know that? Yeah. And then I think the final is usually Friday, Sunday as well.
Yeah.
No, they've done. I was reading earlier the fixture list came out for the final, and it's a Monday night. I think they've put the final on this year.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think it was a Monday last year as well. Robert, because in fact the last time it was at a final on the Sunday. I'm sure it was Ross County against Partick Thistle.
We keep people updated. It's now half time in the Champions League semi between Inter and Barca. It's 4-3 to Inter Milan. 6-5 in aggregate.
I feel bad, Robbie, for saying Okay, Reagan, I'll back that one up and say it was Partick Thistle 0, Ayr United 1. There's no comparison, Robbie, there, you know.
When was the last time I wonder when the last time we've seen 7 goals in a Scottish football game. It must have been quite a while ago. And the top 2 flights, you don't see it all.
I told you, no. I'm going to
Ben.
say it was pretty soon. No, I think we've seen a 4. I think we've seen a. Well, I'll tell you a story. I was actually at a 4-3 game between Partick Thistle and Aberdeen. Robbie, you can look this one up. I'm sure it was 4-3.
Well,
Scott Wright scored the winner. You can look that one up. You can look that one up, Robbie. Just put in Scott Wright scores the winner against Partick Thistle. It was at Firhill. I'm sure it was 4-3 or 3-2.
And was
I was at that game.
Was there not another game? 5-4 to, was it Motherwell against, was it Aberdeen at the Park? Because see, this is the interesting the game was, guys. We actually stopped talking about the game and we've gone to a game 10 years ago.
The only one I can find is the 21st of May 2017, Partick Thistle 0, Aberdeen 6, and Scott Wright scored a hat-trick in that game. I can't find a 4-3 game.
Might not be 4-3, maybe.
So,
remember the 5-5 between Rangers and Hibs at Easter Road?
Aye, that one was a cracker. And they had there was the classic one at Fir Park years ago as well. It was with 4 each or something. Aye, 6 each.
Aye.
So what do you think Mark Wilson will be saying to his team tonight? Do you think it's just glad that Robbie the game finished 1-0?
I think so. Judging on what he said after the game, you know, he said, I like Mark. He's a pretty open and honest guy. It seems, you know, he said rightly so, Ayr deserved the win. But I think he's quite a calm guy. I don't expect Mark to get angry. If anything, I expect Brian Graham will be angry in the dressing room because, I mean, you've seen when he missed that header on the pitch, he get quite a wee bit angry. So I reckon in the dressing room, if anyone's going to be the angry guy, it'll be him. But I think Mark will be quite calm about it. I think he'll know they're still in with a chance. You know, the game's wide open. There's nobody near it over. So they're not going into Friday. They'll still get a chance in this.
And obviously, Reagan, from Ayr United point of view and a Scott Brown point of view, you would say, well done. We've got home advantage now, taking them back to Somerset Park. But I think that if you ask Scott Brown, I think he would maybe take a 1-0 league or 0-0 into the game on Friday night because that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of. I would say this is a kind of perfect outcome for Scott Brown. No goals let in and then a 1-0 win away from home. That's a kind of ideal. The only thing for him is it's not like the old format before where there used to be the away goals rule. So I think both teams are evenly matched. I think as we said earlier, just that one moment of quality with the ball in and the great header for Jamie. Oh, almost a chance for Barcelona. But I mean, if you look at in terms of what Ayr have actually done this season, they've spent a lot of money. You look at that bench tonight, Robbie. Jay Henderson, Curtis Main. I mean, these guys could easily play the Premier League.
Aye, and that's where I think the game was won and lost tonight. Obviously, Murphy get the goal, who's got experience. I think the players that Ayr were able to bring on late in the game, you know, you seen when Main come on, he was running straight at the Partick Thistle defence, making himself a nuisance. So it's players like that can come on and make a difference. And I think that is the difference. If you look at, and I think Michael Stewart pointed out on commentary that if you look at Partick Thistle's bench, it's a really weaker than the Ayr United bench. And that's no offence to any of the Partick Thistle players. It's just Ayr been able to go out and get more experienced players that know these leagues inside out and can really make a difference in a game.
But I think that's the kind of quality that you need going into these games, Robbie, because that's what the Ayr board will be saying to Scott Brown. We've backed you, so it's now down to you to go out there and do it. I'm not saying that there's no the same pressure at Partick Thistle. Obviously, Ian Barraclough and Jackie Lowe and people like that, who I know pretty well, Jackie. She's really put a lot of good things in the club and that, and she's done really well. But I think in terms of what Partick Thistle. I think they'll be happy with top four. I think that would be their aim. But I think in terms of Ayr, I think they've backed their manager more this season, and they've shown they've got really strength in the market with really the players they've brought in.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, I mean, look, let's not write Partick Thistle off. They went to Livingston last week and won 1-0, so they're more than capable of going away to Ayr on Friday and picking up a result. But I would agree that Ayr, looking on paper, looking at the squad that they have, they've got maybe a chance on Friday. I think having that one goal advantage is so crucial, being able to bring on the players like Jay Henderson, who
Oh,
has got 20 odd goal contributions in the league. It's something that can really work in their favour on Friday.
I don't know about you, Robbie, right, or Reagan as well, right, but obviously I've been watching Packet for sort of the week every week this season on the BBC. BBC's done a brilliant job, but I was actually, apart from Brian Graham's kind of like 2 chances tonight, I was actually quite disappointed with the Packet Thistle approach. I would think they would go for that because they were at home and they had like home advantage.
I think they didn't really get their attacking players really involved in the game. You look at Partick Thistle over the years. I mean, me growing up, there was Chris Erskine, there was Gary Harkins. I don't know if you remember Gary Harkins, Robbie, but I don't know if you're a little bit younger than me. But I mean, these are players that Partick Thistle really kind of relied on, but not got really that. They've not really got that kind of player that can really take them to the next level.
No.
So Mikey has just come on, and Mikey, what do you? We were just talking about that very exciting game tonight between Partick Thistle and Ayr United. I think we've covered everything, but do you want to add something else, something different that maybe we fell asleep in? I mean, we missed on the 90 minutes.
I don't think there really was much to miss, to be honest. I'm not going to lie to you, but yeah, really disappointing. I thought that Partick Thistle really let me down. I mean, Ayr United did the job that was kind of asked of them. You know, they came in and they got the win, and they're probably favourites for the tie now, which is sort of against what I expected. But Partick Thistle's performance tonight was really, really poor, and I was not expecting to see that at all. It looked as if they were just, I don't know, it didn't even look like they were really getting out of second gear for most of the game. So yeah, a really disappointing night for the playoffs, which you don't usually see.
I think this is our first game, Mikey, of what's in the playoffs, and you're right. I mean, I have been very disappointed with because up to now, whether it's Livingston or Hibs or whoever's been in the playoffs, it's been a kind of enjoyable game. I wouldn't say it's very kind of end to end, but it's watchable. But tonight, I don't know what, but that was a complete opposite.
It was, yeah. I don't think the pitch helped, and I certainly don't think the referee helped in any way, shape, or form. But I just thought overall the standard of play was really poor. Now, a lot of that does have to go down to the referee in my eyes because I don't think he let anything go. I'm sure you've probably mentioned it already, but really, really poor refereeing performance. And the game just never really sparked into life for me. I think as soon as there was any sort of momentum in the game, it was killed off by a player going down or the referee giving a needless free kick, or especially in that first half, the amount of yellow cards he was dishing out was, I've not seen the likes of that for a while, and yeah, it was just a really poor night for football, especially, and I just think the pitch and everything around it really didn't help, but the 22 players on the pitch didn't help either.
I don't get Michael started, Mikey. He's already mentioned David Dickinson about 25 times.
No. You can mention him again if you want because he deserves all the stick he's getting. It was absolutely horrendous.
I think I'm going to mention like 2016 now. I think like he's hit the tone for the game, and obviously in a big game like that, whether it's like a Edinburgh derby or Glasgow derby, you're expecting like a tackle, but let that go because that first tackle sets the tone for the game. and it gets both sides, both fans kind of like up for the game, but they never done that tonight. I mean, there was a brilliant atmosphere, Mike, at the game, but as you say, I mean, the first tackle was a yellow card.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the one that he did let go was a penalty in my eyes. The one by Lenny Adbert, the one where he sort of falls over the top of, was it Robbie Crawford in the box? And I know it's a soft one. It's one that probably you'd think you'd be disappointed if it was given. But at the same time, like, if you're going to trip someone over in the box, it pretty much should be a penalty. But then you're getting yellow cards for punching the ball into the ground and catching it straight away, and you're getting bookings for high feet when there's nowhere else he's gonna do it. The Brian Graham one, I think, or I think the Brian Graham one was actually a yellow, but there was other ones that certainly should never have been a booking. And you're just sitting there thinking that not only is it killing the game off in terms of the momentum's gone because it's a free kick, but also those players are now walking a tightrope for at least 45 minutes, and you're just sat there thinking there's going to be 22 players running around on a yellow scared to put a tackle in for the second half. So, yeah, I was hugely disappointed by the refereeing performance, and it was just one of those nights where it was never going to be a great game, and unfortunately that was the case in the end.
I hate to say it, Reagan, but thank goodness when they were VAR in that game.
Aye, because I think, I mean, me and Mikey have been on the show before with Des, and Des spoke about it's important for referees to being able to manage the game. I don't think he really managed the game very well. Like, he probably knows that this is so important for these players to be involved in. And the last thing you want to see is one player go to one team go down to 10 men so early as well.
Yeah, it kind of spoiled the game for me tonight, guys, as well, because obviously we built up Robin Mikey before the game, because we thought it was going to be a cracking game and a cracking atmosphere. It was a cracking atmosphere, but I don't know that the game never lived up to that. But hopefully, Friday night, Robbie, it'll be well, it's a cup final now, basically, and it's more of a cup final for Partick Thistle, you would say.
Yeah, I think so. But I've just had a quick look on the SFA website, and it appears Nick Walsh is going to be the referee on Friday. Make of that what you will, but aye, it's a huge game on Friday now. Partick need to go there. They need to be more aggressive. I think Mikey was right. They were stagnant. I think everything they done with the ball was just ending up back at the defence for most of the game. You know, they never really pushed Ayr United and try to attack at the defence until at least the last 5-10 minutes. So it's going to be a very, very big game.
As you can tell by Mikey's reaction, he's very happy with that appointment.
Yeah, you can tell it's going to be a great game of refereeing on Friday as well, can't you?
Yeah. So, what's our update in the Champions League? Let's talk about
still 4-3 to Inter Milan with 3 minutes to go in extra time.
Yeah, it wasn't a good gag there for playoff football tonight, Robbie. It was just so disappointing as well, you know. But let's hope that the second leg's up to what it's normally as in the championship. Maybe because it's a Tuesday night. Maybe they used to be playing on a Friday night. You know how you get brilliant games on a Friday night.
I'm not sure about that one.
I mean, if you look at any of the other playoff games tonight in Scotland, I mean, you look at Annan Athletic away to Elgin, they won 4-2. I think Airdrie won 3-1 as well. So there has been some good cracking games tonight, but it's unfortunate the one that we chose to cover on the show has not quite been the spectacle that we thought it was going to be.
I didn't get to ask Mikey earlier, but Mikey, what do you make of John McGlynn possibly going to Hearts? Do you think he should stay with Falkirk? Or?
I don't think he'll go to Hearts because realistically, if you look at Hearts managers over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, even if they do really well, there's no guarantee they'll have the job within a few months after that. I need to be careful what I say here, but Hearts fans seem to be a little bit fickle when it comes to managerial candidates. I think that a lot of them are very negative when it comes to what I would see as very positive ones. Look, I'm not trying to say anything here, right? But yeah, like if you look at the likes of Derek McInnes and I've heard obviously Stephen Robinson, John McGlynn. I think they'd be very decent managers for Hearts, but the fans seem to be very against it for some reason. And I'm not entirely sure why.
I think the best option, and I know a lot of Hearts fans have laughed away John McGlynn, but if you look at the football that he's developed since leaving Hearts, I mean, that's exactly what Hearts want. You know, they've said they want to go for an appointment where they're going to bring in somebody full overseas and he's going to be playing attacking stuff. Well, you can come close to home for a guy that knows the league and he actually plays attacking football that we've been able to watch all season. So I don't think it's a harmless appointment. I just think if you look at what Aberdeen have done with Tillane and what St Johnstone have done with Valakari, I'm not surprised that Hearts fans want a different type of option.
Realistically, though, if they go like a few games out a win, they'll probably be wanting them out. So you never know.
As I said to you earlier, Robbie, though, I did read earlier in the paper that he was and he is a Hearts supporter. So that might sway the board as well. The fact that he's done well in Scotland, plus he has a Hearts supporter as well.
I don't think he'd go to Hearts though. I think he'd rather stay at Falkirk, and because of the stuff he's done with Falkirk, I don't think he'd leave just to get maybe a season at Hearts before he inevitably probably leaves. So I'd rather that he stayed at Falkirk. Well, I think that Falkirk and him would rather stay at Falkirk himself and just try and see out the project that they've got going on there, because I don't think you'd take them from League One to the Premiership and leave straight away. That doesn't make any sense to me, especially if you look at the track record of Hearts managers and how long they usually get in the job.
I tend to agree with Mike there, Reagan, because obviously it's a 2-year project for John McGlynn, getting them out the championship and what have you. And I think he'll stick about at Falkirk as well, just to see how they go on against the teams that the likes of Hibs, St Mirren, Celtic and Rangers and all that kind of thing that coming to the Falkirk Stadium to make a good atmosphere and a good game. I think I'll go with Mike in this one. I think he'll hang about for a season at least.
I think he did. I think he definitely should as well, because I think he's done a great job, and he probably owes it to the Falkirk fans to try and show that football in the Premier League. Yeah. Oh my God! Almost.
What's the score, Reagan?
It was almost 7-7 there, but Inter Milan have cleared one off the line.
Wow, that sounds like a very exciting game.
I think I'm somewhat regretting my decision to watch the Championship game tonight. I'm not gonna lie.
I think you're in the same boat as us, Mikey.
Yeah.
And I think you're in the same boat as all the Partick Thistle and the United. Well, not the United fans, but certainly the Thistle fans that was at the game tonight.
Yeah, certainly it's not the best night for Scottish football, I'd say.
No, but no, it wasn't a good gag for playoff Premiership football, Robbie. But we're hoping that Friday night would be a little bit better.
Well, look, I think if it's the same as it was the night, we'll be scheduling a 10-minute show after the game on Friday, because that's how long it will take. But no, I think it will be better. I hope so. Reading the news about the referee, I'm no longer confident, but we'll just need to hope that both teams actually come out and beat each other, especially Partick. So I thought they were maybe the weaker team on the night. I thought Ayr done well. I thought both teams were defensively solid. I think they both knew that they had to be in this game, but I just would have liked to have a bit more attacking wise for both teams.
Yeah, no.
We've got full time in the Champions League. We've got a Serie A team through the final. Inter Milan are in the final. They beat Barcelona by 7-6.
And that's the biggest favourite of the Champions League. Everybody was backing Barcelona as well.
What a game that was, yeah.
Michael, if I can just say as well before
Yep.
I forget at the end of the show, obviously I'm not going to go into what actually happened too much. Obviously, I brought the news with the St Mirren Aberdeen stuff on
Yeah.
the show. There's been a bit of an update. A guy called Harry, who's in one of the St Mirren group chats, has spoken to contacts at the Saints, and he's going to get the fan to be a mascot for the last 2 home games of the season. And obviously, so that's a bit of good news on the subject, and I believe the police haven't launched an investigation on the situation as well. So,
I heard about that. I heard about that, Robbie, about the taunting and the fan, I think it is it?
aye,
Yeah,
no.
the disabled fan, because like we spoke about this, me and Robbie, on the show on Sunday, and I know that, I know that the police has launched a kind of like investigation, but I think he should be banned for life. That guy actually, away games, and so the home games, but especially away games as well.
Yeah, but
So
it was more than one, so hopefully they can all get found out and all get banned, because it shouldn't be happening in football.
It was good to see as well that the guy that was involved in the Celtic Rangers thing, he get suspended as well, and Celtic said they're looking into that as well. So hopefully all these things can get out of football, because I don't know why they continue to happen, and these people think they can go in football, and like of course it's a day to let your hair down and whatever. If you've got any hair, then lucky you, because I've hardly got any. But I mean, to go there and do some of the things that people do, I just don't get it.
nah, I know, exactly. I think as well, just come back on tonight's game. Obviously, I mean, if you look at that Partick Thistle team, I mean, they've got a wealth of kind of like experience, and I suppose Ayr United has as well with Jimmy Murphy, the veteran at, what is it, 34? He has me. I feel very, very old when I hear that 34. I was 34. And George Oakley. Am I right, Robbie? Did he not play for Morton?
I think it did, aye.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done, Robbie, for just not for just saying aye. Okay, then let's move on. Experience, mate. It's all about experience.
Well, I mean, seriously, I think that is where the game was one of those. I think Ayr just simply had more experience on the night. I think they had, once they found the breakthrough, and of course it was Murphy scored the goal. I think they could bring on the experienced players that know how to deal with these type of situations and see the game out.
And I think, like I said earlier, it was also a big match for the two managers as well. And I feel like Scott Brown, like I said earlier, he had a really good bench as well to bring players on and change the game.
I mean, when you bring on a guy that's got nearly 20 goal contributions in a season, and I think he got nominated for Player of the Year in the Championship as well. It's going to be okay, and it'll be useful again on Friday if Henderson doesn't find himself starting. In a game where it'll be close, again, I think on Friday, you're going to need the guys to try and see the game out and get you through.
I don't think there'll be major changes to the team, Reagan, as Robbie said, for Ayr United, but I'll be interested to see if Brian Graham and Matt Wilson goes with the same starting 11.
I think Aidan Fitzpatrick is somebody that can really impact the game. I remember him a few years ago when he played Ross County. He told them to shreds. Remember that famous game that the Partick Thistle were 3-0 up away at Ross County, and he played brilliant that day, and then Partick Thistle go by 20 minutes to go, and then they end up getting beat. So I think if they can get Fitzpatrick more involved in the game, then he can be a player that can really impact the match.
I think as well, Robbie, that in the second leg it's going to be quite interesting, because Ayr United doesn't have to go from the first whistle. I think I think it's up to Partick Thistle could come and have a go at it as well. But as we're saying, these kind of shows that Ayr United need to take these kind of game in stages, like 20 minutes, and get to half time and see what happens as well. And obviously, if they're lucky, make a goal as well, because if they make a goal, you would maybe say that's the game over.
Yeah, but I think all the pressure will be on Partick. I don't expect Gray to go full defensive, but if you look at the game tonight, I thought Partick Thistle had maybe the ball in stages, but it's just they done absolutely nothing with it majority of the time. But I think really let them down. I think they were clinical when they had to be. Obviously, I know McLennan set up the assist for the goal, but he had obviously a chance I touched on earlier. Just I think it was 5-10 minutes after that he just hit wide. So on another night, it could have been worse for Partick, but I think Thistle need to come out here in a better manner. I think they'll need to be set up more aggressively. I think they'll need to put better balls into the box. I think that was another thing they really done. Brian Graham's not a small guy. He's a guy that you can aim for in the box. I just don't think they fed enough through to him. So it's going to be quite an interesting one on Friday.
Aye, Brian Graham's got more jobs than Michael this season. He's Partick Thistle ladies manager, he's Partick Thistle scoring goals, and he's Partick Thistle men's manager. I mean, he's got a big job, and hopefully he can lead them to hopefully the final against obviously David Martindale's team as well. So, but I think in terms of Ayr, I would say they've got more of a chance in terms of the players they can really impact the match. I mean, you look at players like McLennan, you even look at like George Oakley, Jamie Murphy, people like that who can really change a game.
I mean, a guy that didn't make onto the pitch, Jake Hasty. The name I've not seen about in quite a wee while, but I know he's got some Premier.
I like Jake Hasty. I liked him at Motherwell, and then he joined Rangers. Remember?
No.
And then there was a big furore because he was a Celtic fan, and then he went to Rangers and obviously got nominated for the Young Player of the Year, Robbie. And see, I think that's a kind of mistake that people make in their time in Scotland in terms of that first kind of chance. I mean, he should have probably stayed there and then got a better move in a couple of years, because that kind of stalled his development. I know it could be a big thing where it was Stephen Gerrard that came from at that point, but Stephen Gerrard was probably advised from the Rangers board to get him because he was young and he was up for the Player of the Year. I don't think Stephen Gerrard phoned him and said, "Can you please join us?" But we're desperate to get you. It was probably a Rangers board thing in terms of trying to get more Scottish players in.
I mean, am I right in saying is it Bailey Rice that came from Motherwell to Rangers and
aye, it is.
Lennon Miller. So I mean, you're looking at the two career paths now. You're looking at Bailey Rice, who's at Rangers and now getting in the team now, but maybe it's took a couple of years after his growth. And then you look at Lennon Miller, who's captain in Motherwell. He won Young Player of the Year, and he can potentially get a move abroad somewhere in a year or two.
See, that's why for me, I don't think Lennon Miller should sign for Celtic, because I think this level's too easy for him. I mean, let's see me being selfish in terms of Scotland. I would like to see him go abroad, maybe go to Spain or go to a Germany or a France, or maybe even join Scott McTominay in Napoli and really test yourself.
I could imagine the Italian market will be keeping a good eye on Scottish football now, just because of McTominay and Gilmore Ganelli especially. Two Scottish players, they'll probably be thinking, what can we go and get out here? So it will be interesting to see whether likes.
I don't know if you guys are Italian football supremists, but I've been watching every match for the last 10 games, and he's been a kind of stalwart, Scott McTominay. I mean, some of the goals he's been scoring as well. I mean, him and Raspadori in midfield has been really good. And Neville, and I think they've got 3 matches to go, and they only need 2 wins and a draw because they're 3 points clear. So,
was it Josh Doig that went out of Hellas Verona?
He did.
Aye, that's another one.
Che Adams is at
Torino.
Torino. He's doing all right, but he played against Scott McTominay the other day, Robbie, and Scott McTominay scored in the game, so he did.
He seems to be scoring for fun. It's nice to see. Obviously, at Man United, it wasn't exactly a world beater. The fans actually turned against him a lot towards the end, so it's
Very
nice to see.
surprised.
I don't know about you guys, but I just think it'd be amazing for two Scottish players to go over there and be kind of idolised for one. Like it's okay us saying, right, well, these guys are kind of decent players, but see if they go on to win this Scudetto. I mean, these guys would be idolising Napoli because, see, to give a bit of background, I mean, Napoli, I think they've only won it 4 times in their whole history. So this would be the fifth championship that they've only won in Italy. And Antonio Conte, but wasn't really back to the transfer market. He wanted to sign somebody in the market, and they sold like a guy to PSG. Anybody can try and pronounce his name. Is it Gavashvili or Kavashvili? What his name is?
Kvaratskhelia, I think.
He sold him, and he sold is it Ochiman to Galatasaray. So I mean, he sold 2 of their best players, and to bring in Scott McTominay, to bring in Billy as well. I mean, I think it'd just be amazing.
Shows it was a really good game tonight.
yeah, exactly, Mike. Like we've just spent 2 minutes talking about Thistle and Ayr and half an hour again about a town football. So yeah, you could. By the way, if you haven't saw the highlights tonight, we're not going to spoil it for you. Yeah, take a sleeping bag when you're watching the highlights. As well, Mikey. We've got a few minutes left on the show. From our I know we kind of like touched upon this at the beginning of the game tonight as well. In the Hibs point of view, you might be laughing at this as well, but Tony Bloom has basically from Brighton has put 10 million into Hearts. Now, when I saw that report today, I thought, well, are you serious about this? You're the one that appointed. Neil Critchley, and he never lasted a full season. So what chance have you got putting all that money in and maybe signing another manager? It's not worth the salt.
Well, hopefully they spend the 10 million on a couple more world beaters like Sander Khartoum and players like that. So here's hoping their investment goes just as well as it has already. That's all I can say about that. But unfortunately, it will benefit them, but from my perspective, I think that from what I've seen so far from Tony Bloom's sort of consortium, the signings he's made haven't exactly lived up to expectation. I think that's a little bit of an understatement. So, yeah, as I said, I think that there's a lot more deep-rooted issues than on the surface just bringing in players. That's the same thing that Hibs struggled with for a couple of years, and fingers crossed that fits sort of out the way now, but I can't see the Tony Bloom thing ending too well. Just because from what I've seen so far, there's not really any account taken into whether they'll suit Scottish football, because if there was, then why would you sign someone like Sander Khartoum or just that Steinwender guy as well, who I haven't been hugely impressed by.
I think the one guy I've been impressed with is the striker.
Even so, I mean,
Edison Cavanga.
I'm still torn on him because yes, he scored a few goals, but if you look at him across the space of a match, he's been really poor on multiple occasions. I mean, the St Mirren Cup game springs to mind where I'm not sure what he was doing, but a lot of the games he's just not looked great. He has got a good few goals in him, but yeah, I think a lot of Hearts fans share the same sentiment that I'm sort of believing, and that's that he's not as good as his goal tally would suggest. As weird as that sounds, I just don't think that he's really been too good across the span of games he's played.
Mike,
I just hope that.
Sorry,
Sorry, Robbie.
No, I was just to say, while we have you on the show, obviously I've not spoken to you in quite a while about Hibs, but just quickly, like what you making of Hibs so far? 'Cause I think the last time I spoke to you, they were actually pretty in the league for a bit. So, I'm guessing you've been impressed. I mean, another good win against my best pal Jim Goodwin. So, you must be.
Just how it should be, you know. But I mean, look, it's been very, very good from a Hibs perspective. I'll be honest. I'm just sort of living in the moment right now because, you know, obviously we're not going to be as good as we are this season next season. That's obvious. But, you know, to be riding the wave that we are and having the time of our lives in a sense is excellent. And I think if we can carry on some good form into the end of the season, then we can really go about sort of building something quite special for next season and trying to solidify that third place. But I think it's getting another.
I think it's a little bit embarrassing though, Mikey, that there's no Hibs player kind of nominated or either in the team of the year. I know Andy Halliday said from his point of view that he voted for the Triantis.
Well, we've seen over the last few years that the team of the season's not really much to look over, because unless you score 30 goals a season, it's going to be an old firm player picked ahead of you. So there's not really much sort of issues from my end on that.
I mean, who's been the player for you? Watching Hibs this season, I mean, I think Rocky Bashiris became a kind of a cult hero with Hibs fans, and obviously that Iredale, and I even like Lewis Miller. So a lot of players that I like.
Yeah, I just think if you look over the whole team, I think that if you were to take any individual player out of the starting 11, then we'd suffer in some way. I just think that it's a team that's working really well together at the moment. You've got the 11 key players on the pitch, and you've got the players coming off the bench, so like Kieran Bowie, Josh Campbell, or Junior Hoyle, whichever way we play it. And I just think it's a sort of perfect harmony at the moment. Players that I'd have loved to see in Team of the Year: Nicky Cadden, Nectar Triantis. Even you could say Rocky Bashiri, even though I think Jack Iredale has been slightly better. I just think that everything from a Hibs perspective in recent months has really sort of just worked out, and it's been a sort of snowballing effect of how a good run can turn into something pretty special in that sort of space of time. And obviously it's a good sort of place to be at the moment, especially when your rivals are in the situation that everyone's are.
I just want to ask Robin and Reagan their views about the Tony Bueller situation. I mean, obviously there's got to be a bit of doubt in Hearts fans' minds. Lights are glaring. Hopefully I'm going to speak to Barry Anderson as well this week for the show on Friday. But there's got to be a bit of doubt because he was part of the reason why Neil Critsley came to Castle, because obviously you don't go on CV now, guys. You go on how many games that you've won as well, and it's the same on YouTube as well, right? So if you were looking at a Hibs player on YouTube, right, you wouldn't actually see the chances that he's missed, because they don't do that. They just put a show reel together, Robbie, about how many goals he scored, and he's a brilliant player. And then when you see him playing in the Hibs colours, he's absolutely hopeless. And that's the same as a manager as well. I mean, do you think that football's went a kind of different way now in terms of like AI and all that kind of nonsense coming into the game?
Well, I mean, I think he actually was destined to fail for the start. I know he had a decent start, but for what I heard, the boardroom was split even at appointing him. You know, some fans, some people on the board didn't even want him in the job. So, you know, that was never going to work, I think. Look, they need to get the next appointment right. I'd be interested to hear what Barry would have to say on the £10 million investment, because as far as I can see, and I've not read into it, but as far as I can see, there doesn't seem to be many downsides to it. And I think this is one of the good things about having a fan-owned club. You know, this isn't going to happen without the fans being notified it happening, you know, getting their thoughts on the whole situation. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I mean, like this whole, you know, computer stuff and the systems that Hearts have got. It'll be interesting to see how it goes in the next couple of weeks, because whatever Hearts manager comes in, if some of that £9 million is going to be put into the transfer budget, he's going to have a pretty big summer at Hearts having.
Reagan, the same point to you, but I mean, I might bring in your pal from across the road for come on, and after the game, he used to say, well, we had about 15 shots to go as well, but I mean, all the fans are not interested in 25 shots to go, 35 shots to go. All they're caring about is, have you won the game?
I mean, the thing that I'll go back to is the Aberdeen chairman. The Aberdeen chairman was on radio stations a couple of years ago talking about appointing managers, and he was talking about, I've got it right with Stephen Glass and Scott Brown, I've got it right with Brian Robson, and this appointment this season was a kind of last chance saloon. And I think in terms of like Andrew McKinley, he's never really got any appointment properly right. I mean, even when you go back to the Stephen Naismith appointment, you can probably go there and say, right, he tried to appoint me within, but was it actually a good appointment? Because if you look at David Gray, right, David Gray's had a lot of time, he's had a lot of patience, but also you look at every manager that's been sacked for Hibs, he's kind of stepped in and took the kind of job when everybody else has been sacked. So he's had that experience, and then he's jumped in well, and obviously Malky came in, and he's actually done really well this season. I know there was kind of some jeopardy when he became director of football, but I think it's so important for Hearts because they like to see themselves as the third force in Scotland, but I don't think they particularly are. I mean, but they like to see themselves as that. But I think as well, I think it is a good thing that there is investment because it's not that often that somebody wants to put that much investment into Scottish football. To be honest with you, I know that is it Bill? Who's the guy that did something into him? Yeah, Bill Foley done it, but into Hibs. So it's great that these people are doing it, but then you just hope that they're not kind of just using Scotland as a cherry picker club, and they're just hoping that it can actually be sustainable. Because I know people say, right, Celtic and Rangers and that, but I would actually enjoy it. Like if a Hibs or a St Mirren managed to win the Premier League, I think it'd be great.
Can I just quickly sort of ask a sort of final question from my end? You obviously mentioned Stephen Naismith. I actually don't think that Stephen Naismith was a bad appointment at all. I think he did a very good job with Hearts, and I think he was kicked out too early. I'd like to know your thoughts on that. But if you look at the position he took Hearts over from, and the position that obviously he didn't leave him in a great spot, but I think the job he did at Hearts to get him third by such a margin, I thought he did absolutely excellently. If you were to take his entire sort of Hearts career into account.
I agree, but like the last game obviously I had was in Paisley, and when it's a long road back when the fans turn your back on you, and judging by what the fans were chanting in that game, they very quickly turned their back on Naismith. But I agree, genuinely, bar that bad start of the season, Naismith had a great time at Hearts. I mean, bar winning that piece of silverware in that season, they finished third. What more do you really want? You know, you finish the third best team in Scotland, you're never going to go above the other two. So I thought I agree. I thought it was a fantastic season.
I sort of beg to differ with that, right? Because if you look at what he actually done, right? Most of the games he won 1-0 and it was Shangle that was scoring. So there wasn't really that sort of, you wouldn't say that of course he got Hearts to third, but you look at Hibs, you look at Aberdeen. I mean, Hibs and Aberdeen were so far away from it was unbelievable. They were nowhere near it.
See my point, no, it doesn't matter how you win games unless you do win them, and I think he did that, and I think that I've mentioned it before, the fickleness of some Hearts supporters. They did the same with Nielsen when he'd taken them from the Championship to battling for third every season. I think they get a bit too over their head at times. As soon as things start going well, they do get a little bit I don't want to say over ambitious, but their expectations go a bit too high compared to where they should be. And I think that's been a real negative for the Hearts support in the last sort of decade, because as soon as they're doing well and as soon as a little drop off happens, the fans seem to always be the first ones to turn their back. And I think that's something that's benefited Hibs by not doing with David Gray, because if we were the Hearts fan base, then David Gray would have been out in October, and I can tell you that for an absolute fact.
I'm just going to.
Sorry, I would say they were very over ambitious. I remember, not just with the summer transfer, I remember when they drew with Rangers on the opening weekend, people were saying they were going to finish second in the league. So, I did think they got very ambitious at the time. But it was a weird one with Naismith. I think once the fans turned his back on him, I don't think there was any way coming back. I mean, that away game in Paisley, I remember he just sat in the dugout the whole game, didn't even commit to face them. So it was a real disconnect.
I remember sorry, Michael. I was going to say, I remember the game before, Robbie. They played a game at Dundee, I think it was, and they get beat 4 or 5-1.
There was only 3-1. That was the second game. That was the first game that was the first domestic game they'd lost of the season. And the fans were absolutely losing their minds, and that's the thing for me. That was just, I came on afterwards and I was laughing at them because they finished third. They were talking about finishing second and trying to win the title for the whole week up to that. They lose one game and they're talking about the manager being sacked, and you're just sitting there thinking, what is going on here? And the same happened with Nielsen, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. I personally think Naismith would have got them top 6 this season.
Obviously, I'm not in Edinburgh, right? But I think genuinely the reason why Robbie Nielsen wasn't really accepted was because of the Brora Rangers debacle. You know what I mean?
That was 2 years before he left, though.
Nielsen never finished below top 6 with Hearts. He every season with Hearts, he at least had them in the top 6 and fighting. That's what was good about Nielsen. I think even before Naismith got the job, they shouldn't have sacked Nielsen. I thought he was a good Hearts manager.
He got him to 2 cup finals as well.
No.
Yeah, I think a good example, Reagan. I think you make a point earlier on. I think a lot of credit. I'm not going to say it because Mike is on tonight as well, and he's my favourite highbie apart from Charlie and the Proclaimers guys. But I think Hibs had a good model there, because you could easily say that David Gray should have been sacked in November, and I'm the first one to put my hands up and say we were on the show to say that the job was too big for David Gray. But I mean, I think David Gray managed to answer his critics back, including some of the Hibs fans. Mikey might know better than me, obviously, but because I mean, I think it was it not Dundee United in Motherwell? Was it last season or the season before? Had 3 managers in one season, and you're thinking that's why you're not going to get any top 6, because you're not going to get any kind of like consistency in your team. And I mean, look at Hibs. I mean, they never sat David Gray in the top 6 now as well. So Hibs must get massive a round of applause for that.
I do think so, and I think that if you look at the sort of last 5 or 6 years in the SPFL, Derek McInnes was pretty much sacked from Aberdeen for getting 3rd or 4th in the COVID season, and he was guaranteed either 3rd or 4th, and he got basically hounded out the club. I mean, you can look at the endless amount of Rangers managers who have an unwinnable task because they're so far behind Celtic and the fans turn on them that quickly. Hearts are really bad for it. Hibs were really bad for it. And you're just sitting there thinking that the way Scottish football's going at the moment, it's just how quickly things change for me that's really sort of frustrating, and especially when you're on sort of social media and you look at the reaction between games and the knee-jerk reaction of some fans. I mean, you look on the Hibs Twitter after the Aberdeen game, and some fans are saying it was embarrassing and the club should just kick players out and stuff, and you're just thinking it's absolutely pathetic. But it's the way Scottish football's going, and I think that if you look at the sort of the Hearts thing at the moment, yes, I don't think Critchlow was great, but I think Naismith would have absolutely got them top 6, and I think the fans turning on him was the biggest mistake of Hearts season, and I don't even think Hearts see that at the moment. They still think that Naismith was hopeless for some reason, despite how well he did for them in his spell there.
Okay, so that's just us roundabout. By the way, we haven't spoke about the Partick Thistle and Ayr United game for about 45 minutes now. That shows you how entertaining that game was. Just to give you a roundup of all the games tonight. Of course, we're into Scottish playoff season. League One. It was Elgin City 2, Annan 4. See, that sounded like a better game, guys. Edinburgh City 1, so the East 5-0. And in the playoff in the Scottish Championship, Skinhouse 1, Erdley 3, and Queen of the South 0, Cove Rangers 0. And on the Premiership playoff first leg tonight, it was Partick Thistle 0, Ayr United 1. We'll be back on Friday with the show, the preview show for the weekend. Thanks to Mikey, thanks to Robbie, and thanks to Regan for joining us tonight. We'll be back on Friday with the big weekend preview show, and hopefully we'll have a better game to talk about at 10 o'clock. Big Queen, Ayr United and Partick Thistle. Thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you soon.
You're watching all the build-up and reaction to the Scottish Premiership playoffs. Partick Thistle, Ayr United.